The rotation has started. Gold is bleeding and Bitcoin is rising. And I say this because gold just dropped 6% in a single day, wiping out more than 1 trillion in market value overnight. All while Bitcoin pushes higher and Ethereum's exchange reserves have fallen to multi-year lows. And we see that Tether just surpassed 500 million users. So even as headlines focus on fear and exhaustion, as we know they always do, capital is already rotating, it's moving, and it's moving from gold to Bitcoin to Ethereum. And then it will start moving into the next wave of altcoins. Everything is beginning to unfold and move in unison and sequence. So I believe the market is entering a phase of ignition, a phase of takeoff. So by the end of today's video, you'll see how this new cycle has already gone live and why this quiet moment, as it seems, could trigger the biggest market expansion we've seen in years. Now, before we move on, and I've heard this concept, perhaps if you're following AI as well, you've heard this term called the singularity. Now, the singularity in many words means a moment in time where the rules have changed so much that it's impossible to see beyond the horizon, to see the way the dominoes will fall, so to speak. And I believe we're undergoing the same structure, the same event in time in the crypto space, one where the actors, the conditions have changed so dramatically, including the involvement of AI, that we simply do not know the way this market will actually end up playing out. But we do know there is enough new market movement players involved that we know it's going to be ongoing. That is what we do know. So let's take a deeper look at this, because we've seen for months that gold has been the safe haven hero. Every macro investor piled in as inflation stayed sticky and markets have looked uncertain. The latest data now shows that phase is slowly ending. Over $1 trillion in gold market cap vanished in a single day, which is the kind of moment in time that usually signals liquidity is starting to move. Now let's take a look at what's called path to altcoin. It's a chart that is highly followed in crypto. Now imagine it with a new starting point, phase 0, one where gold ignites the phase, and from there, phase 1 begins as the capital starts flowing into Bitcoin. Gold cools off, Bitcoin accelerates, and that's how every rotation begins. And at the same time, we hear some powerful voices in the crypto space, ones that, whether or not they are right in what they say, these voices are powerful enough to affect what will happen because enough people listen to them. And these voices right now, both across traditional finance and crypto, are pointing towards the same outcome. We hear from CZ, one of the most influential figures in crypto today, saying that Bitcoin will eventually flip gold's market cap. And we hear from billionaire investor Anthony Scaramucci on NBC, stating he expects Bitcoin to reach $1.5 million, calling it gold parity. And then we hear from economist Mohamed El-Erain, one of the most respected macro minds in the world, stating that Bitcoin has officially matured into a store of value, evolving from scam into one of digital gold, all in just 1 decade, which you have to pay attention to. So the message is clear. Gold lit the fuse, and Bitcoin is the next phase of the cycle of the future of finance as we know it. And now we see the institutional floodgates are cracking open. Bitwise released new data estimating that by the end of 2026, institutions could pour more than 426 billion into Bitcoin, buying over 4 million coins, which is about 20% of the entire Bitcoin supply. They even modeled what would happen if just even 5% of gold capital were to rotate into Bitcoin. And this target they modeled has Bitcoin's price rising up to that of $242,000 per coin. And this shift is already underway. We hear Vanguard quietly disclosed a 21 million position in Metaplanet, which is the Japanese company that holds Bitcoin on its balance sheet, similar to Strategy by Michael Saylor, but the Japanese version. And then soon after, Germany's Ifinio AG announced plans to become the country's first Bitcoin treasury company, aiming to accumulate 10,000 Bitcoin by 2027. And together, these moves show how corporate treasuries across regions are beginning to treat Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset rather than purely a speculative play. And we see regulators are moving in tandem. In parallel, Fed Governor Michael Barr said stablecoins could be backed by Bitcoin under the Genius Act. And the Federal Reserve is also studying a new payment account model that would give crypto firms direct access to Fed payment rails. These steps mark the foundation of a new financial framework taking shape in plain sight. And only those paying attention to the larger macro environment and picture in the world are the ones that can see this unfolding, which is you if you're here, so welcome. And this is also why technical analysis in itself is just not enough, because it doesn't take enough factors into consideration, but it is important. Anyway, the political tone of voice is also shifting. We have heard from US VP JD Vance stating that digital assets, especially Bitcoin, are now part of the mainstream economy and here to stay. So that message is echoing globally now, with Japan allowing banks to buy and sell Bitcoin directly. And in South America or Sudamerica, in Bolivia, my original country, even though I'm a halvesy, has elected a pro-Bitcoin president, Rodrigo Paz Pereira. And this movement now extends far beyond traders or funds. Governments, banks, and multi-billion-dollar institutions are aligning for the same next phase, and that is one of Bitcoin integration at scale. That said, let us take a look at what's going on chain, because on-chain data tells the truth before the headlines can catch up or try to trick us. Right now, we see that Glassnode shows Bitcoin futures open interest dropped 30%, which clears the excess leverage that fueled recent volatility. So that flush leaves the market healthier and less vulnerable to liquidations. And it's not just derivatives showing this cleanup. Spot data reflects the same pattern. Binance net flows just flipped deep negative, meaning coins are leaving exchanges faster than they're coming in. That's what accumulation looks like, basically. A setup where investors are moving Bitcoin into storage and taking supply off the market. And Plan B's latest stock to flow analysis also confirms this reset phase. He notes that the RSI hasn't yet reached the red zone, and the realized price still tracks the 200-week moving average. Both signs that the next expansion phase hasn't started yet. And if we zoom out, as I always like to say here at my channel, it's not unique to me, but when in doubt, you have to zoom out. You have to look at the larger context. We see other analytics platforms are seeing similar signals. And that's important because when you see the same sign everywhere, it's typically a sign you need to pay attention to. So we hear that crypto quant data reinforces the trend too. Funding rates have normalized, future flows are subdued, and analysts call this phase the phase of disbelief, which all you have to do is look around on X, listen to your friends, go into the Discord chat groups. Everyone is pessimistic, except for those who really know. Even market sentiment shows exhaustion. This post from Zach summed it up perfectly. He said, sentiment so bad, bottom has to be close. And that's what I was saying in one of my videos a few days ago about how oftentimes what you see everywhere is the opposite of what will actually happen. And exhaustion is one of those sentiments. It usually indicates the bottom is close, which means what? It can only go up from there. So while Bitcoin consolidates, Ethereum's on-chain data is flashing strength. Exchange reserves have dropped to around 15.5 million Ethereum, the closest level in years. And And that means fewer coins are available for traders to sell. And at the same time, Ethereum treasury companies are quietly accumulating. SharpLink Gaming bought another 19,000 ETH, worth nearly $75 million. And Bitmine Immersion holds more than 3 million ETH, valued at over $13 billion. So these corporate balance sheets now act as long-term vaults, steadily pulling liquidity out of the open market and in many ways securing Ethereum's price for the long haul, because these funds and these institutional players are not looking to sell because they understand its intrinsic value. That said, Ethereum-related treasury stocks are also showing early signs of stabilization after months of decline. That's often how reversals begin. Quiet strength in places few are watching, and you are one of these few. So congratulations to you. Now, that said, I do have to repeat myself in saying that no one knows how this market will exactly unfold. That's why I said a moment ago, I'm borrowing the term that's been used a lot in the AI space about this singularity moment. Crypto itself is unfolding under rules we have never seen before, conditions we've never seen before. So we don't know exactly how it's going to pan out, but we do know, once again, there are enough forces, clouds in the sky, as they say, and strong winds and new actors, and people accumulated at unprecedented rates. So Bitcoin is going to the moon. I'm going to say it again. And as it does, it's going to take the rest of the crypto market with it. That said, I do have to say that much of Bitcoin's suppressed price may also be strategic. I've been thinking this for a while, because why would these massive institutional investors and players and sovereign nations and global market makers, right, if they understand Bitcoin's intrinsic value, it would be in their best interest to keep the price as low as possible, right? So, and then we know a lot of deals happen off the books, OTC. So there are some forces which are invisible, like dark matter. You can't see it, but it's there. Anyway, so there is some manipulation, but ultimately, as you can see, Bitcoin is rising because it's not just institutions that own it. There's good actors too. It's just very interesting. Very, very interesting to see what's going on in the world. But let's keep going. Anyway, all of this information, all of this action sits on top of the same pattern forming across altcoins. Top analysts, including renowned macro strategist Henrik Ziberg, are pointing to the same setup. The longest altcoin bear market in history is beginning to turn. The MACD, a momentum indicator that tracks the relationship between two moving averages, is now showing new crossover signals. Moments when short-term momentum moves above long-term momentum. And historically, these MACD crosses have appeared near the start of major uptrends. So while I don't think we can depend 100% on technical analysis, I said it's not enough, I still believe that. It is part of the story. It is part of the formula. And this indicator indicates, as I said, the beginning of a reversal pattern of an uptrend, which I also covered in yesterday's video if you didn't see it. So we see Bitcoin dominance is easing and altcoin indicators are climbing towards breakout territory. And while all of this is happening, something else is happening alongside the charts. Crypto culture is waking back up again. Coinbase.eth just bought Kobe up only NFT for $25 million, which is clearly a signal, right? Up only, you get it? They're putting their money behind it, which is a strong, strong signal. And we know that NFT was also key to relaunching one of crypto's most well-known shows. And just hours later, we saw Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, went ahead and burned it on chain. What a signal. So that moment said a lot to me, as I was saying. It shows how the spotlight is shifting from the hype-driven bull market of the past to the builders now shaping this phase of crypto. And AI, as I was saying, is also becoming part of the story. It's actually super interesting. I'll see if I can drop the link below, or you can search for it too. But there's essentially this live trading experiment going on. You can go see this happening in real time. It's very interesting. I was looking at it over the weekend, where you can see Grok 4 and DeepSeek are outperforming ChatGPT and Gemini in trading, identifying the crypto market bottom and flipping to leveraged longs for massive gains. So it's the first time AI models have shown they can trade with precision compared to seasoned analysts, a signal that machine intelligence could soon help guide part of this market. Meanwhile, the crypto user base keeps expanding too. Nansen data shows Aptos is up 25% in active wallets this week, even though I love Sui so much more. You know that if you're here watching me, but I have to share the facts with you. And we also see that Unichain is up 15%. So these are early signs that on-chain activity is spreading again, layer by layer, network by network. And even traditional markets are lining up, is what we see. The NASDAQ is back near all-time highs, but its RSI is under 60, showing that the rally hasn't overheated yet. And at the same time, real appetite is surging again. Citadel Securities data shows retail investors have been net buyers of US stocks for 23 of the past 26 weeks, their longest buying streak since 2020. And there's about $7.5 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines right now. So when even a fraction of that starts moving, markets can shift quickly. And Bitcoin's monthly chart shows consolidation too, not exhaustion. It's forming a base, and bases are built to break higher. So, all right, as we wrap up today's video, remember every cycle reaches a moment when disbelief turns into realization. And we're standing at this crux right now. Gold has peaked, institutions are accumulating, supply is tightening, and on-chain strength is growing by the day. Sentiment has already bottomed. We've seen that the worst, I believe, is over, though there will be more corrections. And the quiet rebuilding beneath the surface is turning into something much bigger. This phase marks the beginning of ignition. The data, the politics, and the psychology are all aligning in one direction. The great rotation is underway, I believe, which does not mean I don't think you should be wise and take some profits and de-risk a little bit as the market pumps every time. Take a little bit out. But overall, I believe we are going up from here. And the early movers, smart money, as we can see all the institutions, sovereign nations, countries, my country in Bolivia, everyone knows this, and they are already positioning themselves for what comes next. So my hope would be you also follow in their footsteps and do what smart money does, which is accumulate right now. Anyway, if you found this video insightful, informative, or of any value to you, just like the video and share it with a friend or a family member that needs to know what's going on, needs to stay informed, and then make sure your notification bell is on so you don't miss my next videos. I love you guys so much. Take care, and I will catch you guys in my video tomorrow.